John Varley, thanks very much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
They like to say that when people look at the world from the Indian shores, things just tend to look better. Is that true for you? And if so, how and why?
Certainly, there's better mood here in Mumbai than there is in London at the moment, I would say. I mean, I think it's all about economic activity, really, and you only got to sort of set foot in Mumbai to feel a sense of adrenaline rush, because the economy here is performing so strongly. And, I say thank God for India, because you remember, as I do, there was that bleak moment for the world in the back end of 2008 when it felt as though the whole global economy went into a shutdown. And there was confidence here at that time that the economy would continue to grow. And indeed there was confidence in China that the economy would continue to grow. And the fact that the world has recovered as quickly as it has from those dark days, I think a lot of it has to do with the self-confident business performance here in India. So I say again, thank God for India.
How critical is India, though, in the Barclays growth story?
It's very important to us, because one of the things I've been trying to do as chief executive of Barclays is to internationalize Barclays. When I became chief executive 6 or 7 years ago, only about 20% of our earnings at that time came from outside the United Kingdom. Today, 65% of our earnings come from outside the United Kingdom, and India is very much epitomizes that pattern of international growth. I think if you're running any business, certainly it's true of a bank, you need to make wise asset allocation decisions. You need to make sure that you've got the exposures in the appropriate economies. And it's very clear to me that both international customers and clients and domestic customers and clients, India is hugely important. So we have been here in India for 20 years, but we will be here for the next 200 years.
Is it more important because this is going to grow in the future? A future that could actually be more than short-term or medium-term one? Or is it more important because India is an important link in the global revenue ambition? Is that a story as well?
I think it's both of those. I mean, it's perfectly clear that if you're a global bank, and Barclays is a global bank, you have to have a capability of doing business in India, because so many of your non-Indian interests require that capability. But in addition to that, I mean, India in its own right is a massively important global economy. And if you think about business decisions that will take effect over the course of the next 30 years, how can you possibly ignore this country? It's hugely important. So we are very, very committed. I don't know if I point to our track record, for example, in Barclays Capital. We've been active in the capital markets here over the course of the last 20 years. We're now a market leader here. And I hope that we can bring things to clients. We can add value to what they do in their risk management and financing activities.
Like in investment banking, and some of the deals that we've seen have been pretty interesting. Bharti Zen that have sort of taken Barclays Cap on a higher end of that list. But what I'm curious about is the retail side of the banking story, where we have seen Barclays feel a bit hesitant, especially during the recession, at some point take away their retail expansion and then come back in a renewed way. Do you think this sort of, why was it so so uncertain at some stage for you?
Well, I mean, what you can't ignore is the economy. So question number one is Barclays committed to India? Barclays is committed to India. We have a greater distribution of businesses in India than we have in any other Asian country. We are present in all our main business lines in your country. So unambiguous response, we are committed. The amount of resource we put into any business at any given time, of course, needs to be flexed to take account of what's happening in the economy. And I think, to be candid, we somewhat overflexed in our retail banking business in 2007 and 2008. But that doesn't diminish my sense of strategic commitment in the retail business, in the corporate business, in the wealth management business, and in the investment bank.
So what do you think has sort of been reworked as a strategy towards expansion? Because I know you're here for a branch opening itself. In that sense, what is the renewed interest on the retail banking side looking like?
I think it's just perfectly clear that there are sectors of the population in India for whom Barclays can add value. It's as simple as that. And when we look at we look at our retail business, our credit card business, our corporate banking business, investment banking, wealth management, it's very clear to me that there are in each of those areas there are segments of the population who will benefit from the services that we deliver. I do think, though, that being a Me Too bank is likely to be a failure in any country where you do business. You have to have identifiable credentials, and I believe that the brand and the human capital of Barclays These things will add value to the lives of Indian business, to the lives of Indian citizens, and we are privileged to serve.
Will Barclays continue to keep hiring in India as it has recently?
We have 6,000 people in India. I mean, if I think that's a significant percentage of our global staff. So I think that the fact that we employ so many people here is a clear indication of our commitment. So my answer to your question, will we continue to employ? Absolutely we will.
You know, should India actually see a reworking of the laws in terms of stake in banks? Do you think India is a kind of market where a buyout is an interesting story?
Well, I think if you want to do business in a country, then you have to be respectful of its political decision making. You have to be respectful of its regulatory authorities.
So but they can change at some point.
So my starting point is a starting point of respect. But having said that, of course, what all businesses want is a level playing field. And the more that we, as a foreign bank here, can compete on a level playing field, then the happier I will be. And similarly, we must reciprocate. We must make it easy for Indian banks to come and do business in the United Kingdom. And there are more Indian banks in the United Kingdom today than there were 10 years ago. It's a very good thing.